okay, we'll have to nominate or not, you know, you do propose.
I propose.
Okay. Somebody want a second? Dylan, all in favor? Right. Thank you for coming to the extraordinary meeting of St. Albans Parish Council. First item on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence. I believe we've had apologies from Councillors White, Lowry, and King. We've not received apologies from Councillor Todd, I don't believe. So we can vote to accept the apologies if we wish, or do we do that? Do we usually vote to accept the apologies?
We can't reject them, can we?
No.
Yeah, okay. Do we just let it go then?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we just acknowledge them, I think. Right. Item number 2 is to receive disclosures of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests in matters considered on the agenda. I don't have any. Beth? Okay, Dylan?
Just
You
the,
don't have any?
yes, I will.
Sorry? Yeah. Do you have any? Do you, Robert?
Can I just quickly see the agenda to make sure?
Oh,
I don't want to declare something too long. I'd rather just do it.
Yeah, but if you look, they're upside down on the back of those two. Let me just have those.
No. We don't have anybody doing the IT. It's something that needs to be raised at the next meeting. I'll tell you later. So, okay. Right, so then the next item is to approve and sign the minutes of the meeting that was held on the 30th of July, 2024.
You can
So
have one of those
normally
bits
this is the
upside
chair,
down on the
but
back.
as the chair is here, it's not attaching the chair. So has everybody had an opportunity to read them? And I will propose that we accept them. I don't think, I mean,
I'll just abstain, it's easier.
fair enough. I'll propose. And all in favor? Kim, Beth, Dylan, me, and Robert has abstained.
Because I want you to.
No, that's how I do it as well. Because how can you say whether or not it's accurate if you weren't there? Right. And then I will sign them as acting chair. I can have my pen and you don't take it. Writing. Right, so now we're going to move on to item 565, which is to recognize and reapprove the formation of the staffing committee that took place on the 30th of July, 2024, and to reapprove its terms of reference. I didn't print out the terms of reference, but they were sent to everybody and they are on the website. Does somebody want to propose? Beth proposes. Does somebody want to second? Dylan seconds.
Yeah.
All in favor? And that's unanimous. Right. So the terms of reference then will stand as approved previously. The next item is to recognize and ratify the staffing committee's appointment of the locum clerk Carrie Pillow on the 14th of August, and to vote to support her appointment within the terms stated in the staffing committee meeting of which the minutes have been published and circulated to councillors. Does anybody want to propose? Dylan is proposing. Kim, did you want a second? Kim is seconding. All in favor? And that's Beth, Robert, Dylan, Mary, and Kim. So I will then recontact Carrie and let her know that she's been reconfirmed, and hopefully we can move forward.
Is she still interested?
We'll find out if she's still interested. Hopefully she is. If not, back to square one. But I think we'll need to talk about other options, I think, at this point, because we're still not done our audit. And Christmas season's coming up, and grant applications won't be able to get approved. So, yeah, but that's something the staffing committee can look at. We can hold an extraordinary if we need to on that. Right, so the next item is part of the minutes from the 30th of July, and that was to recognize and reapprove the renewal of the Parish Council web hosting as agreed at the Parish Council meeting on the 30th of July 2023. For Robert's information, because obviously that'll happen before you started, the web host, or the web site provider that we had, the contract with them ended on the 1st of August. The website had to be renewed by the 31st of August, or we would lose all of our emails, all of our website, potentially being in violation of requirements to have a website. So we voted at that meeting to approve, I think it was up to £200, to renew the website so we didn't lose it, and maintain the status quo
What
in a
was the
sense.
cost?
Beth?
£142.54.
Yeah, for a year's web hosting.
But we still need to do the internal
There
audit.
is no,
We,
there is
not
no,
the
because
external
it's an
one.
extraordinary meeting.
We assume that that's all been done, but it's all set on the clerk's
And
email, and because nobody's been clerk, we don't have access to that. So Carrie will sort that, when I have a conversation with her, we'll sort that.
And then on the agenda in the future, we
these
can talk
things
about,
have been agreed
well,
at
the
this
next
meeting,
meeting
but
about
either
in
way,
regards to
that
the
meeting was illegal.
future maintenance
So-
of the
Oh,
website.
the website,
And then,
yeah.
of course, the handover from Linda to Karen.
Yep. So if we then want to vote on recognizing and reapproving the renewal of the Parish Council web hosting, as previously agreed at the Parish Council meeting on the 30th of July, Dylan's going to propose, my words, I'll second that. So Dylan's proposed, I'll second. All in favor to reaffirm that, and that's Robert, Beth, Dylan, Prairie, and Kim. Do you want me to call you counselor? Okay. I just thought I should ask, because some people like to
I'm
be
not
called
sure
counselor.
if it's not legally required,
It's
no. Yeah, probably.
Okay. Right. So the next item is to hear a concern regarding resident safeguarding at parish council meetings. Now, this is something that was sent in to the parish council from a resident, through a residents group, and I just want to put it in advance that all names have been removed from it, and any references that might help to identify who the individual is have been removed, because as a council, we don't have the ability or the authority to effectively police or comment on residents' behaviors or anyone's behavior. That's not part within our scope. So, but for the sake of transparency, it was requested that it was read out loud. I'm going to read a redacted version of that.
If we can't police it or we can't do anything, why are we even entertaining it? Surely it'd be a matter for the authorities, or...
It's because there are certain things that we can do, in terms of, like, we can't comment on a resident's behavior, specific resident's behavior, but we can look at putting policies in place on how we would deal with that situation in the future.
And then if need be, we can sort of act as an intermediary and, report it to the
Yeah, and
Nottinghamshire
signposts and
police
things.
or whatever,
So,
yeah.
right. Reading out loud. So. I write to request that you include an urgent item at the next upcoming parish council meeting to the effect of safeguarding meeting attendees against bullying, intimidation, and threats of violence. I request that one of the councillors ensures that this serious safeguarding issue is included as an item on the open part of the agenda for discussion at the next meeting. This is in view of the duty of care owed by St. Albans Parish Council to safeguard the public. This letter should be read out in its entirety at that meeting to introduce this item prior to the council's discussion so that the public is fully informed. I consent to this letter being a public document and made available to residents as part of the meeting papers as it relates to safeguarding issues. This should not be a confidential item, as an incident took place in the public and presents a risk to the public. Any safeguarding issues and risks to the public must be discussed openly and transparently with the public present. At St. Albans Parish Council has a duty of care to and safeguarding responsibilities for councillors, staff, and members of the public during all business conducted for and on behalf of the council, including at meetings. This letter has been prompted by an incident at the St. Albans Parish Council meeting on Tuesday, the 31st of October, 2023. This was attended by Councillors Laurie, Ms. Baker, the clerk, District Council Ellis, and 4 members of the public. The meeting was open for parishioners' questions. 1 member of the public left. Of the 3 remaining members of the public, I was one and was another. Whilst I was speaking during parishioners' questions, blank, I don't know how to redact that, but blank aggressively interrupted using intimidation, threatening, abusive, and insulting words and behavior towards me. This made me feel for my safety, and I believe that they intended to use violence against me if I continued to speak. Outbursts towards me was, and I quote, "I don't like you. In fact, I hate you. I want to punch you in the face." This was witnessed by Councillor Laurie, Ms. Baker, the clerk, District Council Ellis, and another member of the public. The incident was also recorded. At the conclusion of the parishioners' questions, only 1 parish councillor was present. The clerk then declared the meeting in court and was then closed. Nobody should be subjected to abuse, bullying, hatred, intimidation, or threats of violence at a St. Albans Parish Council meeting, or at all. Furthermore, there should be no place in our democratic society where people are subject to hatred or violent thuggery to shut down their views and opinions. My experience has been shared with other residents who have expressed their concerns and also believe this situation is unacceptable. More worryingly, I've been made aware by other residents of the continuing pattern of behavior following this incident of bullying and intimidation of others, both at meetings and on social media. This is not acceptable behavior for anyone. As the intimidation and threats have caused me to fear for my safety, and in view of the continuing pattern of bullying and intimidating behavior, I wish to remain anonymous. I have therefore asked the local community to submit these concerns to St. Albans Parish Council on my behalf and to copy in Councillor Ellis. I'm sure that the council appreciates that the circumstances of this incident and my resulting safety concerns provide a legitimate reason to remain anonymous. However, this does not preclude St. Albans Parish Council from addressing this safeguarding issue publicly at its next upcoming meeting, as Councillor Laurie, the clerk, District Council Ellis independently witnessed the incident on 31st of October 2023. If St. Albans Parish Council fails to publicly address this serious safeguarding issue as a matter of urgency at its next meeting, this brings the integrity of the council into disrepute. The council has a duty of care owed to the public, and it needs to facilitate democratic participation, of which people cannot do if their safety is at risk. What safeguarding measures was St. Albans Parish Council put in place to ensure that councillors, staff, and members of the public are safe and are not subject to abuse, bullying, hatred, intimidation, threats of violence, and thuggery when attending meetings and or engaging in the democratic process? So, I think my thoughts on this is that we as a council have no ability to police the behavior of the public beyond asking them to leave if they're acting inappropriately. We don't even have the authority to police councillors, sitting residents who come to visit, anybody who comes to participate in a council meeting, regardless of who they are. That's not within the remit of the parish council. But what we can do is that we can resolve not to have meetings that are in court. So the meeting that took place wasn't in court. There shouldn't have been parishioners' questions because it wasn't a legal council meeting because only one councillor was in attendance. Because if we have meetings that are in court, that means that there's a chair in place that can adequately control the meeting, and then the chair could have addressed and stepped in that situation. We can also reiterate the required behavior, required might not be the right word, but the behavior that's expected of members of the public in order to attend our meetings, and also to signpost members of the public to who have a safeguarding complaint to the proper authorities, be it either the monitoring officer or the police, whoever's the most appropriate individual. One of the other things that we can do, and I think it's maybe something that we should look at, is to agree, and that's just my opinion, is to agree a safeguarding and civility and respect policy, because we don't have a safeguarding policy at the council, and that's something that we probably should have. That's just my thoughts. Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. We definitely need, I know other parish councils have such a policy in place, and I think it would definitely be a good idea. Just in the event a future incident occurred, then at least we would be a bit more covered and have a bit of framework to deal with it.
Yeah, because the policy will basically say if we do have two residents who attend a meeting, and they have a major disagreement and somebody is being perhaps inappropriate, then we know what we can do in order to step in, and the residents know what we can do, and it might give some...
What is the thing? What can we do?
We can remove people from the meeting.
Technically, we can remove them from the meeting on the premises. We're not the landlord or the owners of the land, so we can't.
But they won't be able to be within this.
Yeah, we can ask them to remove themselves from the meeting, but physically remove themselves from the premises. That's
But as I say, if they are causing a disruption,
sorry
Yeah,
to
that's
interrupt, but
Robert.
just to I can finish off my point, is my concern is that if we establish these sort of policies and procedures, we're going to be overstepping on to laws and etc. And I'm not qualified to be able to say what the law says in this situation, and I don't want us to get into a legal battle so we then do something under guidance but incorrect by law.
as I say, many councils do have such safeguarding policies in place where, you know, if members of the public, like any meeting, you know, general meeting of a public body, if, you know, members are being disruptive, then, you know, we have every right to ask them to remove themselves. And if they are being, you know, violently disruptive, then usually, as Prairie said, that can be then forwarded onto, you know, the monitoring officer or the police if it gets like to such a point, because, you know, I do.
Personally, I think we should possibly have a review of the policies and see if there is something we can do. But ultimately, we just need to signpost the individual to the authorities if they feel threatened. And we need to speak with the proper authorities. We're not in a place to be able to put them at ease.
And we have no authority to do any of that. But if we did, like you said, have a review of the policies and identify, you know, most of our policies are all right. But as I said, we don't have a safeguarding policy. And as an organization, we should have a safeguarding policy, I think.
I think it is a requirement for some, for, you know, like organisations to have some sort of safeguard. As you say, our scope reach is limited, but as you say, we can, you know, act as a sort of intermediary as such.
But there's a lot of saying into the word intermediary requires a lot. Where you use the word signpost, then they will get the
important to pass any individual's any evidence or whatever over to the proper authorities. Like especially if it's like on minutes or whatever. To aid in the investigation, because I do think that's just the decent thing to do, especially if another member of the public has been is in a bit of a state as a result of a confrontation that occurred during a parish council meeting.
I think the policy would be good, because although we wouldn't say we'll do this, we'll do this, it could be we can write down witness statements if it's needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Rather
aid
than say we will do this, and we could
But that would be, my sort of concern is that would be required by law anyway. If the individual went to the police and the police went, I need recording,
Yes,
we just have to.
Yeah,
make people feel
yeah, we would.
reassured.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's about reassuring the
Yeah.
public, and I think that goes for, anything that we do as a council. So if we're putting on a Christmas event or something, and we happen in a situation, if we've got something that talks about how we would act within that certain kind of situation, that means that we kind of also know what we do. So we're not in a situation where, should somebody have intervened in that instance, well, we can't say that because we don't have a policy for that. But if we have something that says that if this happens, then we will do that. And if we look at it with like a civility and respect as well, if it comes to it where we have a member of the public who is routinely causing problems, that gives us a little more kind of ability to say, actually, you can't come to parish council meetings anymore because your behavior is outside of the expected behavior. So if we had a situation where people were being aggressive or threatening, we can't, if we try and say somebody, oh, you can't come to the parish council meetings anymore, it gives more, what's the word I want? Security framework. But again, I mean,
I'm just concerned about legalities
Yeah.
of putting such policies in place, because, for instance, if the policy outlines that one of the councillors then to get between them and then the councillor gets hit, then we're liable.
yeah, no.
Exactly.
No.
Surely the policy will just be common sense, but it's just that it would be written down so that we actually have it in place.
Yeah.
It could also be good that it could stop a councillor from overstepping the mark.
And
The policy
intervening.
says that you
And
don't-
intervening, yeah.
So definitely, I think what we should take away from that statement is that we need a code of conduct for councillors.
We have one.
We do.
Yeah, we
But
have
it might be
one.
worth review, like Beth stated.
Yeah.
We need to look at it and say, if the councillor acts outside of this, what can we do?
Yeah. But I think because we're a public body and members of the public come to the meetings, it's not just the councillors that have, so we have a code of conduct in terms of how we as councillors are supposed to react. But we have nothing that says that this is the behavior that we expect from parishioners that attend. And I think that's kind of where the civility and respect policy agreement or whatever can say that we expect you to act civilly and to not yell at other parishioners or yell at councillors, or it's like a contract almost, but not a contract. It's like a guidance in terms of how we interact between each other.
Perhaps wording it sort of like extending our code of conduct to the parishioners to
Something
set
like that,
expectation
yeah.
of behaviour and what we won't and will tolerate.
Yeah, and I mean, there's loads of, like Dylan had mentioned, lots of councils have these kind of policies, and it may be worth looking at what other councils do to look at adopting something and bringing something back. Just because we don't want anybody to feel like they can't come to a meeting, and that goes with if there's a resident who's being threatening or aggressive towards our clerk, or a resident who's being threatening or aggressive towards another resident or to a councillor. We want to make sure that the people who are here are able to engage constructively with the democratic process instead of just feeling like they can't participate, and that goes on all sides.
If you want, I can go away, between now and the next meeting, look at some, other parish council websites, and then, other organisations, safeguarding policies, and then get a draft together, and then send it out to all of you and then we could have that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, nothing would be agreed unless everybody agrees, or the majority of the council
Exactly,
agrees.
but
Yeah.
I can go away and
Yeah.
find something, put it on the agenda, then we can vote on it,
Do
including
you
it on.
want to vote that Dylan's going to do that? Do you think that's a good idea? Make a motion that Dylan will go away and do some research and come up with some proposals for discussion
Yeah,
at the next meeting?
get a draft together.
Okay, I'll think of that, and you can do the other things. All in favor? Everybody?
Fabulous.
So, you second, I just. Right, okay, so, the next item on the agenda is, 569. Does anybody have anything else they want to say on that? Just between the councillors. Right, so the next item is 569, to appoint a councillor to seek and obtain 3 quotes on behalf of the councillor, I sounded British there for a minute, for a planter watering contract for presentation to the council for selection and agreement. So, a bit of background, Robert, because I mean, we all know the background and you probably don't. We've got planters within the Warren area, and we've got some planters within Deer Park. The planters are positioned in Deer Park where somebody can water them. The unfortunate thing is that's not possible in Warren because of the distance.
Yeah, I've just been going
Traffic.
with bottles of water to try and water them, and it's
That's
not
what I do
ideal.
too. On the way to school, I start pouring water.
Yeah.
So originally when those were installed, we were aiming to have a watering contract in place, knowing that this would be an issue. And for various reasons and various reasons, we don't have one. And we're getting to the point where we need to get something in place. So we've been suggested that in the absence of a clerk, or also in the trying to limit the work that the locum clerk has to do, we are going to have a counselor. I think you put this on, Dylan, didn't you? So to have a counselor obtain those quotes. So it's just whether or not we want to agree to do that and nominate somebody to do that. So the motion, or does anybody want to do it? Obtain 3 quotes.
I mean, I can.
Okay. Anybody else? Sorry?
I would maybe start with all that, to be honest.
If you're happy to do it, Dylan, brilliant. So, motion that Councillor Jones will seek to obtain 3 independent quotes for a watering contract for the planters. And we'll present them to the council for selection and agreement, hopefully at the next council meeting. But other than that, so I will propose. Sorry?
Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. Can't we relocate the planters somewhere more suitable? Would that be more financially viable?
I don't think so, because then we're relying on
Residents.
residents.
But then you have to remember, this is like an issue with like some of the city council ones as well. It's like, you can't rely entirely on residents. Because say, for example, the people who have been maintaining it might move, they might pass away, they might, not have time anymore, new jobs. So there's many variables. So I don't think we should be relying on private citizens. So system, say they have the winter plantings and they have the ones for the summer. So, we have agreed previously £600 towards the, the sort of like Bestwood in Bloom. So far I think we've spent like 200 out of that pot. So.
I mean, there are two councillors that live in the Warren area, and they live on the same street. And as lovely as it would be to have a planter on their street.
It's just to consider, because an ongoing contract is an ongoing drain, whereas if there's a one-off cost to relocate it, perhaps just an idea to consider.
Yeah.
Just a bit of planning, 'cause it's not, the way I see it is it's not my money, so I want us to be careful with it.
Yeah, I mean, the planters in the Warren area are on Wheelfield Park, and then there's two on the kind of junction.
I think the place where they're currently sort of like positioned is probably, I don't think we should move them, because moving, they've been there for quite a while now, and from experience, anytime something is moved or like changed and it's new, kids will take that opportunity, and trust me, they will vandalise it. This is talking from experience,
Yeah.
of someone who does a lot of projects all around the city.
Yeah. I mean, if the watering prices come back and they're astronomical, then we would probably need to revise.
Just something for consideration.
Yeah, revise what we do and how we do it.
As a
That should be put into consideration in the next meeting, obviously, when we've got these quotes, and we can see how realistic it is. I've got no idea how much this is going to cost, but yeah, so I think it'd be interesting just to find out quotes, obviously, and then after we've got that in place, we can then discuss if it's going to be more efficient to sort of, as you suggest, move things, or see if we can co-opt people into helping out, sort of thing.
Another solution would be if watering's an issue for the next year's planting of them, because we'll put through like maybe for the sort of like next phase of planting, maybe in like January or something, we'll put that on the agenda for another 150 for all the planters again. But the next planting scheme to utilise drought tolerant herbaceous perennials, which don't require very little care. I've sort of done a bit of trial and error with figuring out what things you can basically just plant and leave all year round without having to water, because I do a lot of plant a lot of stuff under street signs around trees. If you go to Old Farm Road, me and this guy called, what was his name? Tim basically put like fancy stones membrane down and flowers and
You're the one who inspires me to do it to my house then.
Wait, have you seen my work on Old Farm Road? I live
My
on.
sister lives on Wickham.
Yeah, that was me. I've also, if you go to South Glade Park as well, do you know where South Glade Park is?
Yeah.
All the new trees on there, all 5,000 of them, me and this guy called Tom planted all of them over the last 10 years.
5,000?
Yeah, we got a lot of them off the city council of SAPC.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, so
I think that's a good idea, a good point, obviously, to what for the next planting now, to make it more, they need to be more
Drought tolerant.
Yeah, drought tolerant.
I'm thinking stuff like geraniums, like flaming Katies, because they're literally Mediterranean type plants, and they can essentially survive months without water, and still keep blooms on them. So
Right, okay, you're the man for that. Next
So,
I work at a plant centre,
Right.
so there you go.
we got to propose.
we got to propose that Dylan seek 3 quotes and return to the council with them to be approved, or other options considered, should they prove to be too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Second, all in favour?
I think, all in favor is where we're at, because that proposal can,
Yeah.
brilliant, everybody, excellent. This may be a record. Okay, so item 570 is the reimbursement of counselors for expenses incurred. So the first one is $100 all in favor of minuting that Beth gets paid? Oh wait, no, we need to propose. I propose, Dylan proposes Beth gets money. I don't know if you can vote Beth, no. I'll second that, all in favor. Everybody but Beth.
It's a legal requirement to fill them out.
Sorry?
It's a legal requirement to fill them out. It's
Yeah.
not for excessive.
I'm going to go to item C. Item C? Yeah, item C next, because I've had a resident give me something to talk about item B, so we'll go to the two approvals and then we'll discuss the questionable one. So, £70 to Councillor Jones for the trees and plants for the community orchard. This is part of the Britain in Bloom approvals that were done in Westford in Bloom, Warren in Bloom, I don't know, St. Albans in Bloom, I don't remember what we called it, but the previously approved £600 for the planting and planters and trees.
So does that come out of that?
That would come out of that pot. This is just to say somebody needs to pay him, basically.
Yeah.
So, all propose and all in favor, you can't vote. Everybody but Dylan. So the next item is, oh, sorry.
Who's going to get to put them two on the account?
Well, we've got the minutes, so that can be passed to Dave.
Or Linda.
Or Linda,
Dave
currently.
says he can't do it. Linda's on holiday till 29th September. She would do it, I'm sure.
Okay, we've got a minute item now that pertains to both of those
So
payments.
we'll have to do Linda
So-
because I think Dave's like refusing to do it.
He said he can.
No, in the past he said he can put them on. He just won't put anything on because he don't want to be held accountable or something like that.
I don't know. Linda can do it though,
Yeah, Linda.
Yeah, she said.
for now.
No.
Right, so item B, which was £25 for Councillor King for the replacement of the hose pipe ban. Because we've not had any parishioners' questions with this one, I've been asked to read something out. I skipped ahead and I've done the two that were already approved. So item B, there's no council record regarding Councillor King and his personal hose pipe. Absent of any previous agreement that Councillor King should use his own hose pipe for council business, it appears Councillor King took the decision to do so. The council is therefore not responsible for any damage to his personal hose pipe, and the council funds from the public purse cannot be used for his personal expenditure. The council cannot pay for something where Councillor King unilaterally made the decision to use his own personal equipment. This is another, presumably, his hose pipe was only long enough to use in the area close to his home, and therefore it is not concerned in using it for the benefit of the other part of the parish. And another example of his decisive approach. Okay. Right, so those are the comments that it isn't evidence in the previous agreement.
It's possible to get some backstory to this.
Right, this is the planters, okay? So the planters put into place, and this is one of the issues with residents doing it, because it was in his capacity as a resident that he was watering the planters. That was, I know it was the one that was opposite his property in Deer Park. So he had been doing that as a volunteer since they were started. My understanding is his hose pipe, in that capacity, his hose pipe was damaged and is not usable, so he had to replace another one. I don't know what anybody else's opinions on it is in terms of doing it. I am happy to vote to approve the reimbursement of it because he was doing it in his capacity as a volunteer, not in his capacity as a counselor. And I think that we would be expected to reimburse any volunteer who had taken on that responsibility. So, yes.
The only thing I want to do is just to limit our liability from setting a precedent is that we do it as a gesture of goodwill and not as a replacement. Because if we
set up things with volunteers is we should make it very clear that we won't do that, and that was not done from what I remember of conversations and my knowledge about the whole thing, things that happened. So I think that's a very good thing. And again, that's one of the issues with trying to do it with volunteers, is that somebody's stuff gets damaged while they're acting as a volunteer capacity. Where do we set the liability?
Exactly.
Do you know?
But it's also setting precedents.
Exactly.
And that's where we need to be careful.
Yeah. So, do you want to propose that then?
So I'll propose a gesture of goodwill of 25.
Yep, I'll second that. All in favor? Everybody? Okay. And I think when we go forward, if there are any kind of future things where we're asking residents or councillors to do things on behalf of the parish council, we do need to set quite clear parameters, boundaries in terms of what we will reimburse for, or we provide the equipment to allow them to do it. You know, that is one option that we can do. So, yeah. Okay, so the next one is establish an events committee to plan and oversee council-run events and to agree simple terms of service and give it authority to spend. So, I don't know, Dylan, do you want to?
I propose.
Do you want to expand? Because this was your thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was my thing. So, as you were all aware, I think it's like 2 or 3 years ago, if you remember the whole Santa sleigh thing, we had that went around Deer Park, Warren, I think it even went into the city bit.
No, it went to the gardens.
Oh, gardens as well. I mean, I remember seeing it at Tesco in Top Valley.
It was not ours. Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're thinking about re-establishing that or similar things because a lot of I've noticed like a lot of other parish councils such as Ruddington, Limby, Papplewick, Bestwood Village, they host a lot of like events, like for example like when it was King Charles's coronation or whatever. I know Bestwood Village did a thing with like the local school kids, so that is something we've been lacking. So to sort of like boost morale, community spirit, community cooperation, all that, I think it's a good idea to establish an events committee for that reason, so we can plan and listen to pitches, people's ideas,
So this would just be for council-run events. It wouldn't be anything to do with community grants or anything like that.
No.
There's a different
Yeah.
different process for dealing with that.
So
Yes.
I agree in part, like I do think a smaller group of the councillors to hear the ideas because we can't have big meetings taking up all the time with events. So I do agree that we should perhaps have a smaller group of the councillors, but it should go to the wider councillors for approval.
Yes, so before any decision is made at the events committee meetings or whatever, because it would have to be sort of like
We can give it the authority, a limited authority. So you can say that we have an events committee, and within the terms of reference, that events committee has the ability to spend up to £1,000 on community-led events. Anything that expands beyond that would have to go back to the council for kind of like full authority and everything. That would be one way of trying to expedite things, because if we only meet once a month, that might make it difficult to get the approvals, I think.
Yeah, because if we're going to do the Santa sleigh this year, then we need to start planning soon, very soon.
To be fair, if you wanted to do the Santa sleigh, you needed June to be looking at it. Like my works parties and anything work event to do with Christmas, that's all done June, July. Otherwise you're just chasing your tail with time limits. So I think trying to expedite this year.
Well, so we should at least get the Christmas tree up at least.
Well, I think that's a conversation that we need to have. I think there's been talk about doing one in Deer Park, which I thought was quite good because the one in Warren is done by a community group.
Oh,
So
do we
Warren
have-
Action Group leads on putting the Christmas tree up there. But there had been talk for a couple of years about getting one in Deer Park. And I've had a couple of ideas about that, on how we could do it. But I think part of that is something that could be discussed, Christmas, because I mean, you're right, it is close, but
I'm just worried because if we meet once a month, even with extraordinary meetings, time is.
yeah. Well, Beth, Kim and I have planned a summer fair for the PTA in a matter of a week before.
So maybe, maybe we can leave the sleigh till next Christmas, but I still think we should have a Christmas event, maybe like a Christmas fair or something. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not against the idea of doing these things. I'm just
Aware of
time is. Yeah,
But
I'm
as I say, it would be easier to organise, say, a Christmas fair rather than, you know, the whole Santa sleigh thing, probably. Because then we would only need to agree, maybe to rent out the
I think so. Going back to the committee, I think we should have a small group of councillors to hear out the ideas. But any approvals, I think, should probably go to the white group.
Okay. Right, okay, so, we'll start with this one. Establishment does a motion to establish an events committee. We need to decide simple terms of service, terms of reference, and things like the number of people that are going to be on it, a temporary chair, what else should we do? Kind of like a scope, in a sense. So, who would like to, I mean, we can do, right, okay, so first we'll go and we'll vote to establish events committee. Motion to, I propose that we establish a staffing, not a staffing committee, an events committee. So, I'll propose Dylan seconds. All in favor of establishing that? Unanimous? Right, and then if we look at simple terms of reference, terms of service, I don't think there should be an upper limit on the committee, because if all councillors want to take part, I think they should be allowed to be able to take part. We will need to have a minimum of 3, so it's somewhere between 3 to 9 members. I think. Any ideas, Beth? This is kind of your thing. You're the events person. Okay. So 3 to 9 members will nominate an initial chair. I nominate Beth.
Yeah, I don't mind this.
So I nominate Beth.
Love an event.
So I think with this one, we probably don't want to put too many restraints and like constraints on it and stuff. But I think one of the things is that any event that the parish council plans should be either a parish-wide event, meaning that it spreads across the parish, so like the Santa sleigh goes into both parts of the parish, or there is a reciprocal thing happening in the other area. So it just gives polarity? No, that's not the word. Equalness? Proportion? Yeah, something. But it just means that we're not having one area getting all of the events, and another area not getting the events. It just makes it a bit more
fair.
Even spread, fair, united, whatever. So yeah, Yeah, okay, so I've got here,
Did you put down about this December about the Christmas fair potential?
well, that's something we can discuss at the meeting.
Yes. I mean, if we did get a Christmas fair, it would be good to speak to like vendors or something, you know,
Yeah,
have it outside, maybe in the car park or something.
okay. So
Could also have a licensed bar.
initially, we should probably nominate people to be on it, but we can do that in a minute. Sorry. I'm trying to do this on the fly.
Mince pies.
So 3 to 9 members, Beth temporary chair, but we'll actually do that in a minute. So events in all areas or parity, that's the word. Parity? I don't know. You know what I mean. Go on, Sue.
Are these events going to replace existing
No.
community events?
No, that would be
Right.
another thing that I
Okay.
would think that we need to do. They won't replace existing events, but these are not events that community groups are running,
Right.
but they would be supplementary.
Yes.
I
So,
would say they'd have a review of the current events, but certainly not in view to get rid of them or something, but if there was a need to do more
Yeah.
different.
so these ones would more sort of be like additional. So the ones run by community groups, they would stay as, and these ones we're just offering additional ones on top of what is already being offered out there.
So, like you said about having a tree down in Deer Park, or was it you, Prairie?
I think it was both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Medical.
So the parish council would pay for that tree in the same way that it's paid for Christmas lights for Deer Park, but it won't give a grant to a community group who does similar up here.
I can't comment on that because
Well,
we've
that's
not
the
had a
reality.
grant
That's the reality.
application, and that's something that can be discussed through it. But what we're saying is that these events wouldn't favor an area over another
Okay.
area.
Can I make another point?
Yeah.
There's a Deer Park action group down in Deer Park who could organise those events for you in the same way that Warren Action Group organises them up here. So where's the parity?
Here's the thing. The thing about the Deer Park Action Group, it was actually started by Dave, but as he put it, it's more of a community group because it's not an actual active action group.
You mean it doesn't do anything apart
it
from
doesn't do
moan?
anything. It's basically just a talking
My
group.
understanding is that it's not an entity, it's not a group of, it's just
A moaning
board where
group,
people
yeah.
post information, it's not like an active group.
But then an active group gets criticised for organising events.
I think any application that were to come through should be,
Deemed on its merit,
yeah.
So can we again submit applications because we've been blocked?
You can submit an application, of course. I
Okay,
mean, I
we'll
don't see
do
why
that.
you
Can I just
couldn't,
have,
yeah.
is there any policy or procedures for blocking this or?
No, it was David
No.
and Jason.
There's a grants policy
Yeah.
that it says that it is limited to a particular amount and a particular frequency. However, as the council, we don't have to abide by that.
And it also says you must do it for the whole of the parish, which local community groups don't do.
As I said, we do not have to follow that grant
Okay.
policy.
Thank
It's
you.
a policy, and there have been other instances where it has been exceeded. So there have been other grant applications that have come through that are over the amount.
Like the Jolly Garden one.
I'm not saying anything, I'm
Trying
not
to be
picking out
impartial.
anything, I'm just saying that there have been applications that have come through that don't strictly stick to the policy, and I would welcome any grant applications.
And I'm second that I happily welcome grant and I'd review them. I wouldn't just automatically turn them down. That's not how it works.
Especially if it's for the
will not replace or try to usurp existing events that happen. Like, we wouldn't try and put on a community kitchen because we have a community group that does a community kitchen. That's kind of, we're not going to try and, yeah, reinvent the wheel or anything, I think. So,
But just to put forward the review bit on there as well, I wouldn't limit a review from that group or something. So if somebody, like another group came in and asked for something, why wouldn't that committee then review it? Because, yeah,
I think it's
not to mind.
because the community, the grants, so anything that's come up with a grant, so we've got a grant policy and a grant application that goes to full council. So, but if a community or a resident said to the committee that, I think it'd be really great if you did X, I don't think you'd say, we would not consider it, I think. But, so, okay, so basic terms of service, 3 to 9 members, chair, it will meet as and when necessary in order to plan events, that it will not favor one area over the other. Anything else we need in the very simple terms of service? No?
Does it need to be in there that anything that we do in plan needs to go to full council?
Yeah, no.
What is, I'll welcome everybody's thoughts on that. So I know you said that you would like it to go to full council for approval and.
Because just to raise a point, if we don't, then everyone's just going to join the board and then it's going to elongate the meetings. That's what I see happening. So we might as well, because it's going to happen, everyone will just join the committee to then long out the meetings.
So kind of it would be more of a ratification of the events, or is that how you see it, where the committee?
So we get proposed plans, put things together, then final approval.
Would be at the.
Yes, I think that would be a more standard approach, because then if it has everyone's input, then
Yeah.
then no one. We do all the discussion for planning at the event. Get the quotes, get a look at contracts and stuff like that. Get the initial drafts and everything, and then once that's all been agreed, we vote on people going away and doing that. Come back at the meeting, and then all of us vote on it. Then no one can say oh yeah, no, I was left out of that. But
And final approval goes to everyone, so there's no one going, oh, I was left out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It went to everyone. Because like I said, otherwise, I can just see everybody joining that committee, which then is going to turn quick 15-minute meetings into hours.
Yeah, fair point.
Or we could get to a point where people are like, oh, yeah, I didn't have my input on that, and then they're not going to actively work with them, and
It's up to them to join.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to then limit the number of people? Because we've originally said 3 to 9, but then if we're concerned with everybody wanting to come and be part of that events committee, like we've got the staffing committees, I think 6 members or 5 members? 5, I think it is.
I just feel like it'll cause conflict if we limit the number as well.
Yeah. But then if we're limiting the number, why does it need to go back to full council?
Because I don't think everybody will join.
Right, okay.
At least there is the option if you decide you can.
It's-
It's not like it's full now, you can't come in.
Yeah.
It's an equality.
Fair enough. Right, then, do we want to, does somebody want to
I'll propose.
propose 3 to 9 members, events in all areas? Anything we do has to go back to full council for final approval. Do you want to, Beth seconds? All in favor? Okay, brilliant. Then it's Beth. We'll nominate who wants to be on it. I'll be on it. Beth's on it.
I'll definitely join.
You're on it, Dylan?
Yeah.
Everybody's on it. Propose. I'll propose everybody's on it. Who wants a second? I'll go to the second. All in favor? Everybody. I propose Beth as chair. Who's gonna second?
I'll second.
Dylan seconds it. All in favor? Everybody? Brilliant. Okay. So the next item, and we're not authorizing authority to spend in this. So the next item is to agree arrangements for banking, including adding signatories, administrator, and continuity plans. So currently, so part of the concern is that the chair, not the chair, the clerk resigned, and it's come to light that she's never fully taken on the banking and financial aspects of the council. The clerk that we found for the staffing committee has raised concerns because if somebody else is managing the finances when she's appointed as the RFO, that puts her at a risk. So we need to make an agreement in terms of Linda, who had been a previous local clerk, who was agreed when the previous clerk, Claire, started, that she would continue until Claire was ready to take on the financials. That didn't happen, but now the locum clerk is saying that she can't take on until the previous person who'd been doing it is removed from it.
Or organise as a handover, basically.
So we need to organize a handover of it, or we need to legitimize the continuation of Linda and appoint her as RFO, and only appoint responsible financial officer, and only appoint the clerk as the clerk. Now, I think having it all in one is best, is my opinion.
Less messy.
It's less messy. So we just need to have a conversation about that. We also need to have a conversation, because you two have been councillors now for what, almost 6 months?
I've been a councillor since February.
Yeah, so it's about 6 months.
I mean, I have had something through, because Dave did, try and get it set up for me, have the letters through, but then to get me all, I had the login and everything, but then, the whole password thing, what he said, activation key or whatever, it wasn't working, so he said to contact customer support, but I think that's something I'm going to have to speak to him about, or Linda, because, to reset it or something again, because I think it's only limited what customer support can help with.
Have you been gotten back on yet? Okay. So we've got a bank account, we've got signatories. I'm a signatory, Jason's a signatory, Francesca's a signatory, Dave's a signatory. I'm not sure if John Todd is or isn't.
I think he is, yeah.
I think he is officially, but I'm not sure if he's able to log in.
So there seems to be an official and actually able.
Yeah.
I mean, I should be able to log in once I get this thing sorted.
Now, I think we need to just decide. I don't know the process of getting somebody on it. I don't know how that works. But I think that's something that could be discussed with Linda.
Yeah, I think Linda would be the best point of contact because she has more experience on it. And
so if we have Linda, we minute that Linda is to get Beth, Dylan, and Kim.
And
if you want to be on it, or do you want? See, I personally, this is just my thing. I think getting somebody on it, this is something I disagree with a lot of people about, but people should be allowed to become comfortable as councillors before we start lobbing financial information and financial responsibility onto them. But that's my point of view. If you want it, if everybody else wants you on it, then I'm not going to vote against that.
Judging how long it takes to sort of get set up, I think it's better to start now.
Fair enough.
This is what I'm saying. I mean, I've been here 6 months, I'm still not fully set up.
Yeah,
so there you go. Get the ball rolling, as you say.
Okay, so if we minute that we want Linda to get before, yeah, to get Beth, Dylan, Kim, and Robert on it, and also hand over to Carrie
Yes, that would be in everyone's best
after
interests.
Dylan, Beth, and Jason get paid.
Yeah,
So,
fabulous.
yeah.
So what's involved with the handover then?
I think it's just getting Carrie added to the bank account.
And giving her administrative
Giving, yeah.
capabilities.
I mean, I think there's a longer term conversation to be had about who we're using, because Unity Bank is the bank that we've been using, and they are so incredibly slow.
So maybe it might be worth seeing about finding a new provider and then transferring our funds over to a new bank.
So when I say they're incredibly slow in what aspects?
It's taken 6 months to get Dylan on.
Yeah, and also, as you can tell, their customer service is absolutely shockingly poor, and sometimes they don't even respond to your emails, or it takes them like 2 months to respond to them. So I don't even think are they UK based? I don't think
So
so.
so one action I think we should probably take away from this is once we've got the bank account square and sorted, that we perhaps look at different lenders and see what
Yes.
costs are
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I mean, because I know a lot of people use like TSB or NatWest.
Because we're like a signatory to it,
Halifax.
I'm not sure how that.
Yeah, but I think it is something to, once we've got Carrie on the account, maybe we wait until we've got Lynn Clark in place, but that's something that I think we should look at, because, yeah,
6 months is not good.
it's ridiculous, yeah, I mean, I can say that,
If it was a larger sum of money and somebody was suffering for it, I'd feel really sort of bad.
yeah, so, okay, so that's a motion to agree that Linda is to start getting Beth, Dylan, Kim, and Robert onto the account, and to add Carrie as well, and assuming Carrie's still happy to join us, and then to hand over the financials to her, including the scribe information.
Who handles IT at the moment?
No one. So unfortunately, no one. But that is something that can be added to the next agenda.
About what?
Are you able to move into that?
Yeah.
It's about what?
I was thinking
IT.
we could make a motion
IT,
to get
yeah.
somebody's, like I'd be happy to nominate myself to administer and do things.
Oh.
Like password resets, stuff like that. My background is IT, so.
Oh wow, that's perfect.
Also, I mean, as I say, my previous expertise, because I was a analytical scientist, data analysis, so I'm quite savvy with IT as well, so it could be a joint venture.
Sure, best to have two.
Yeah, there you go.
We can
IT.
set up the mailbox for tech support and we just pick emails and
Yeah.
as they come in.
As I say,
It can be if you want it to be.
So that's something that I think can be added to the next agenda.
Yeah.
And decided. Unfortunately, it means though that you don't get an email address yet. But,
That's fine.
sorry? But yeah, I think that'd be something to add to next.
we can include you, like when I was first, nominated onto the council. I think Claire was like using my personal address until she set up my council address, so we could copy you in on your personal one for the time being until we get, the council one set up.
We need to vote.
Oh,
Yeah, on my motion about the banking arrangements. I propose.
I second.
Dylan seconds. All in favor?
Fabulous.
Brilliant. And that's it. We're done. I've been proposed. Dylan seconded.
Yeah.
Everybody was in favor. Slightly longer than the last time.